Hi, it's Lil from Made by Marley, and I'm giddy today because I'm back in the stable. For those that are new to my channel, I paint in my stable in the garden. It's a big old stable full of
Creepy crawlies.
full of creepy crawlies, Marty says. I think, if I'm honest, I think I'm much more creative in this space. It was lovely being near the fire on the carpet, which I've ruined over the winter, but I think subsequent years I've only managed to draw it out for just a short period of time and come back in here. I think because the ferrying across of materials and having to keep coming back and forward and everything, it's nice to be in one space and have everything. I feel like like the Lord of the Rings, like Smaug with his gold, because I can now see it all again, and I think that makes you more creative. So I'll just get Martin to show you all. And I've given it a spruce up and tidy as well. So I've got my paints, the glues, gold leaf and brushes. I've got rags. I've got my wheels, obviously. I've got many pens. I've got all my molds stacked up. I've got my stamps and my inks and my paints, and everything is underneath my cupboards under here. So I am feeling energized. So today, what are we doing? Oh, a load of talking for nothing there. Uh, Today, I'm going to be talking about when I find this, and if you sell furniture, you probably found it as well. I'm finding people are buying less massive pieces of furniture. People are downsizing, smaller homes are being purpose built, great big pieces, maybe not so much fit in. So the piece I'm about to show you was at auction, and it was at auction, and in our local auctioneers, if it doesn't sell, it goes into second chance to buy. And these particular cupboards had been in second chance to buy 3 times, I think, and they wanted £50 each for them originally, and then they kind of went down to £50 for two of them. They're old shop display cupboards, and the last time Martin just put a crazy offer in and said, look, £10 for the pair, and I got them. So one of them I've put in my storage. We call it the lean-to. Sounds more glamorous. The storage sounds better than just the other shed next door. It's in the shed next door right now because it's going to be a great piece for sort of Halloween, apothecary. So I'm keeping a hold of that one. But this one here, because it's so big, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to work in it in two. So I'll show you the piece. So it is solid wood, really solid wood. I mean, you can see by the sides, it's been limed. What is there to say about it? I won't be working on this piece today. This is the piece that we'll be putting to the side, and I'll get Martin to put a tabletop on this. This is the piece we're going to be working on today. Now, Martin's gonna get me feet, but the feet won't be here till tomorrow, so I'm gonna work on it until the feet come. I'm looking for something about this height. I've been through my stash. We don't have it. We checked even the bonfire pile. There's no feet in there that we can salvage, so we're gonna have to buy some feet for it. It's got some gubbins and parts because it had a light in it in the top. That's Martin's job. He'll have to make that look pretty. What am I thinking for the design? I'm thinking about vintage shop display cabinet with a lot of typography, a little bit of decoupage on it, maybe some mixed media. I might put some transfers on it. Let's see how this evolves. In my head, how I want it to look is pretty much a sort of bluey, darky, greeny, browny with gold around the edges, and then I'm gonna mercury glass, the glass, like old vintage mirrors, and I've shown you something like that in a video before, although the video I did before I kind of made a mess of it, so this time and I knew what I was doing as well. I don't know why, it was just one of those things. So I'm going to be showing you correct way to make these look like faux glass, all sort of old and aged. We're going to maybe put a little bit of rust around the edges. I'm adding more and more onto this as we speak. I said to Martin earlier, oh, this is a really quick one. So I'm going. I'll still be here tomorrow afternoon. Do you know what I often wonder now I'm back in my stable. That kind of like, maybe it's the books I'm listening to, but the crazy woman who paints in her shed at night, and it's folklore for local children. I don't know, because I'm always out and about here. I'm going to move this other piece, get my carpet out. Martin has ordered me, the wheelie seats because of my bad knee. It's coming this afternoon, so you might even get me getting. I'm even more giddy about that. So I'll get my carpet out and ready to paint. I'll get it cleaned off. It's still got the auction stickers on it. Needs a good wipe down. And Martin, are you going to fix the top first, or is that?
No, maybe.
Maybe. Oh, he's been vague today. Maybe. Well, when?
Yes.
So we'll get on, get started. Right, I've taken the glass out of all of the panels. Well, that's not true. I took 2 out, and then I feigned weak hands, and Martin took the rest out for me. So all the glass is out, which is going to be easier for when we do our like aging our glass out. So that's going to be good. We can lay it down and get that all done at once. Now the top was incredibly nasty. So what happened is Martin's made me, and he's just going to attach it on for me in a minute. Martin's made me a top for the piece before I paint it out of a lovely nice thick piece of ply. It's going to be raised up a bit anyway, so, and it just finishes it off without seeing all the internals. Now what's happened in here is, now this took some cleaning, and there was the amount of bird poop in here, I don't know how it got in, but it just did, so it all needed to be cleaned out. And what Martin has actually done is he's put me a circular piece of wood in here, because it's flush with the inside top now, because I'm going to be decoupaging the top, so you're not going to see this, and you're not going to see this because the top's going to go back on here. It just finishes everything else up in a really nice way, and keeps it nice and clean and tidy. So before I paint it, I'm going to get Martin to attach this all back together. Oh, and the little circle that you put in, he attached it all with wood glue. And when I go to decoupage up the top, I'll show you how it just disappears. I will probably put a little bit of filler just around the circle, just because there's some tiny little bits, just so that I'm not going to get too much bubbling where my decoupage paper is. But we'll attach this, and when finally, for you this isn't taking very long, but for us it's taking quite some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them attached, and then we'll get on to painting. Okay, so I've mixed up this quite dark tealy green. I used a Buisson blue, Oxford navy, a bit of Florence, and something else if you use Annie Sloan paint. Just these things are up to you what colour you do it. This is the sort of colour I'm going for, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to paint it, and then when we come back we will get on with all the design stuff. We'll start working on the glass. So you don't have to endure me painting it. This is what I'm doing, and this is the colour I'm painting it. Okie dokie. Okay, so I've given this its base coat, but now I want to give it a little bit of depth. I'm going to be adding different waxes and things and gold and all that kind of jazz later on. But right now, even if I put its second coat of this on, it'll be a little bit flat looking. So what I've got here is the same paint I painted it with, which is in here, which I just decanted it into here because I only wanted a tiny little bit, and I just added some navy. Just to darken up a bit. Now what I'm kind of doing is, and I'm not using a massive brush because it's not a massive piece, and this isn't sort of even a blend, I'm just kind of aging it with these two dark colours. So what I'm kind of doing is, when I'm picking a spot, so see this top band, and don't panic, it looks a little bit like, she's gone rogue. Then I'm just dipping my brush in the neutral, in my original colour, and all I'm doing is I'm not even kind of blending them. I'm just making sure that the lighter colour is in the middle and the darker colour sits around the edges. Get it to the edge here. And then just doing something like this, just to give it a little bit of interest and depth. It will settle down nicely, and you'll have not quite a blend, but two different sort of kind of colours going on there. So it's not just one flat colour. And this is something I do quite a lot actually, if I think I'm doing a big piece, but it's kind of, this one's kind of awkward. It's got lots of kind of in and outy parts, and so something like that. So I'll show you again on the doors. Do it the opposite way around here this time. So I'm putting my original colour here on this part, and then just running in with the navy. Where else would it get kind of grungy? Up in here. My dark blue is putting the drama in it. Drama, Matty. Drama. There we go, like this, and then just smoothing them out like this. I'm not smoothing them out that these parts are lost. That's what I mean. I'm keeping those in. If you know what, it's kind of hard to explain. You know, I'm keeping like my brush strokes of the navy that mix through it in it, like this. This part I'll kind of like quite lighter, so obviously I'm going to put some darker stuff in here. And really, that's all I'm doing now. I'm just kind of like making it look like it's got a little bit of movement, Nothing too much, nothing too bold, just keeping with the same sort of kind of palette. All I've done is just added a little bit more navy. I might obviously do a wee bit more sort of the dark up under here, but I had some of the green on the other edge of my brush, so I'll do like that. So I'm just going to go on. I've already done both sides because obviously I had forgotten the joy of how long things take to dry in the stable. I would have, I had completely forgotten about this. But here we are, back to this again. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And then once I've got this front done, I'm just going to leave it and we'll set up the glass. Okay, so I've got one of my panes of glass on here. This is the beginning of the process of the glass, but I want to put a stamp on it before I do anything. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't tend to keep my stamps on the mount and I want to keep this one relatively straight, I've just cut a piece off, that comes with stamps, comes in the stamp pack. All I'm going to do is just spray my on my jeans, spray this with tacky spray mount and just mount it onto there, just so that it's stuck on there. And if you want to pull it off later on, you can. Right, so that's just fast tack. That's all that is, nothing complicated. It's just so that I can go around it. Now, the trick with this is you're going to be putting your glass spray over the top of it, so you want the stamp to come out kind of, you don't want it too crisp and clean because it's supposed to be an old glass, window. So we're kind of going to be using a roller, but let's try. I've got some black paint on here and I don't often use a roller, but I've got quite a few windows to do, so I'm just gonna, and I am going to be needing this glass later, this black paint later on. So when I get to the next phase, I'll show you. I've got a plastic bag to put my roller in. So how are we going to do this so we don't, maybe best that I don't do it on the glass, but fortune favors the bold. So I'm trying to miss some parts out if I can, because I don't want it too crisp. In fact, I'll probably do this across the whole piece. Actually, do you know what? That just has disaster written all over it. And then I'll tap it where maybe I don't want it. So I'm going to be doing this down the sides. I'm just going to use my little thing as a sort of measure. I don't think I cut it particularly straight, so this will be entertaining. So, so just give it a wee pat. And like this. And I'm just going to double stamp it again, because I've got quite a lot of ink on it, paint on it. This is just paint, by the way. It's just Annie Sloan paint. It's nothing fancy. It's not stays on ink or anything. It's just like that. So that one, see that one there's a little bit more faded. Don't know whether I should just, should or shouldn't I go back over it? Shouldn't really, but oh my goodness. Do you know what I'm going to do? Now, don't do this at home. Don't be doing this. Right, that's fine. That's enough. It's going to have loads of things over the top of it anyway. So, but maybe have a nice what's the word at home. I promise, if you're new to my channel, it will look good at the end. This just doesn't do me justice right now. So I'm going to go on now, because there's 5 panels of glass, which means I need to do up and down each side of the 5 panels, so that I've got the design. Yeah, I think maybe I just need to press a little bit hard. I'm not pressing in all of the parts. You can see I'm not being too precious about it. Yeah, and when we get to the spraying part, this will hopefully make sense at the end why I'm doing this. It's just so I'm not having to have it on the exterior. Well, that'll be actually the front, not the exterior. So I'll go on and I'll do all my glass. And Martin's already got me something to rest it all on, so it's up off the floor for spraying. So I'm halfway there with the, he's got me half the things. So there we go. It's so good being back at the stable. You can make as much mess as you like. Great fun. Spread out as much as you like as well. You're right, Martin. It's kind of everywhere right now. Right, next part, I'll carry on. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of my panels. This was all I could fit because I wanted to raise it up and I didn't want to make a mess of my floor over beside my staging area. So it's sitting here. The printing on it is all dry. So And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the 4. It's kind of hard to see. Look, if I lift one up, you might be able to see it. Now, what do you need for this part? Can I just say, your roller that you had your black stamping on, bag it for just now, because you're going to need it later on. So just put that to the side and bag it, because you are going to need black paint is the last layer. So layers, let's just talk about it. You're going to need some of this mirror spray. This is the kind I use. Yeah, but you can get lots of different kind of mirror sprays. Now, top tip, it's not going to work with silver spray. Ask me how I know. It's got to be mirror spray, okay? Mirror spray. You're going to need some gold spray. This is just cheap gold spray. It's not anything fancy. Gold spray. You're going to need some spray bottles with water. I couldn't find any, so I've got these. But can I just talk about the spray bottles? Your mister bottles that you paint with are going to be no good. It has to be something that kind of spurts out in kind of bigger droplets than a fine mist. Okay, so I've got 2 of these because I wasn't sure how far I'd get with the tiny little bottles they are. You're going to need, I've got a napkin here because I like napkins. They do a good job. You're going to need a napkin. And once we've got all this dry, you're going to need black paint and a roller to go over the top of it. So let's start with the beginning process. Mirror spray, give it a good shake, and you're gonna spray over your glass like this. Now I'm using it in a well ventilated area. There's no problem with me using it out here. In fact, maybe sometimes the shed is a little bit too well ventilated. So a good liberal spray like that. Yeah. Then you're going to take your little squishy, mine's are cute, but you might have a decent sized one. And you're going to do something like, I want it to be a bit more sort of droplet-y. You can put some on your pattern. Oh, this is a bit spray-like. I wanted it just to do something like that. Now, then what you're going to do is you're going to just kind of just take away some of the paint. You don't have to. Now, people, you can use vinegar. Vinegar is another thing that can take your mirror spray away. I just have to get up here at the top. These were kind of bigger shapes that you kind of get your napkin in a shape that's going to work for you. Yeah, I think something like that is going to work for me. Remember, and do some round the edges. And really that's maybe these ones here are a bit too big. If that's the case, just give it another wee scoosh over the top. Now, you're going to let this dry a bit, yeah? And then you can do, just make sure you get right up to your edges. You don't want to have like bald patches, you know. Right, so something like that. I'm just going to touch this up here around this edge. And I'll let this one dry. I'm going to move on to do the other 3. I'll just do those off camera until we get to the next stage of this process, because when this is a little bit dry, we're going to squish a little bit more water. We're going to put a little bit more gold spray in it, and then we're going to let them all dry, and then we're going to spray gold on top of this. But so far, all we've done is 1 coat of the mirror spray and some water. Okay? Okay, so I went ahead and I did my other lot of spray and then another lot of gold. You can see there's still some moisture on there. That's fine. I've seen this done lots of ways. This is the way I do it. Sometimes when you do your glass, you can start by spraying your water on first, then your gold, then your silver, and you can do it that way. But just as long as you've got the water and a little bit of dabbing, kind of, that's the bit that's going to give it a little bit of age and a little bit of distress. Now, the second last step is gold. We're going to spray all the backs of these gold. We're going to completely let it dry, and then I'm just going to get my roller with my black paint and roller them and let those dry. So it's just the gold now. The gold, what the gold does is it just kind of fills in the gaps and gives it another little element of aging. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then Martin and I are going to leave the stable before we're both high as kites. Okay? Okay, so I said what I was going to do. I finished off the glass and I rolled the black on it. Now I have got a little bit of a disclaimer. There's quite a little bit more black than I probably wanted. Martin went for a takeaway last night. I came back over to the shed to roll on the black, and I don't know whether maybe the damp conditions, I'm not quite sure, but when I rollered it, I could feel like some of it was lifting. I'm okay with this. At the moment, I think it looks slightly gothic-y, but with everything we're going to do, this will melt back into the background. It should look, all of it should look more like this as opposed to like this. But there's nothing wrong with a good bit of distress. We'll just have to age everything up to make it work. Now, next thing I'm going to do is just want to talk about a few things. Now, we kind of did this the wrong way around. I still have the glass to clean inside. I don't know if you've got one of these. I normally just use a Stanley knife blade, but I got myself one of these to scrape paint off glass, and they're pretty good and cheap. So if you've got one of those, get that. You're going to need some mess or alcohol cleaner or anything that you have that will clean glass, because and what I'm going to be doing next is, you've never seen, I don't think I've ever done a video not once, where I have used my silhouette. Now, if you don't know what a silhouette is, it's just cuts out vinyl and you can make stencils with it. Sorry, I'm jumping about here. I'm cleaning my glass to make sure that my glass A is nice and clean, but also that when I go to stick on my my vinyl, that it'll stick on really well. So what I'm going to say is, I don't want you to don't get all freaked out and go, well, I don't have a silhouette to cut out stencils, because this is the first video of all the Made by Valley Villages that I've used my silhouette. You can use stamps, you can use cut out pieces of decoupage with letters, you can use those things that you just rub on like a transfer, you can use big stencils. Many ways to do typography. It's just that when you see how much typography is going to be on this, you're probably thinking, well, no wonder she used her silhouette. The only problem is, and one of the reasons why I probably don't use my silhouette as much as I do for lettering, is because it makes it look very perfect. Now, because I'm going to this effort to kind of distress everything, I'm going to have to be careful that maybe it just doesn't look too crisp at the end. Maybe kind of scrape some bits away, kind of work on that. But so I'll stick that down to the side, and I'm not wanting Martin, do not home in on this closely. But people always say, do you have plans? And yes, I do have plans. So this was my rough plan for what I to do. I'm not going to put lettering on the side. He's laughing because he knows what's written on this. He has to decipher my mad ramblings. I'm not going to put anything on the sides of the glass. I'm just going to leave those perfectly. And when it comes to the review, we'll show you the sides. They're very similar to this. So this was my rough sort of plan. And I'm doing sort of a fashion cabinet. Fashion. So on this side here, I'm going to be making leather shoes, Italian leather, sandals, heels, and I thought that said boobs there, and boots, handmade, handmade fine fashion. I was like, oh, that's an error. Repairs and alterations, come in and browse latest fashions and the time. This is going to go onto this window. I've got something for this one and something for this one. I'm going to go ahead and put nearly all of the vinyl on until I get to the end, just to show you the process of how you do it. And you don't want to be seeing me do all of it, but I'll show you at the end, and I'll also explain a little bit about silhouette in case you haven't used one before. The paint I'm going to be using to do my letters is a sort of goldy, browny goldy sort of colour, because I want it to pop, and then we're going to get started with all the design stuff, and it's going to get quite exciting soon. But right now it's still a little bit boring. I'll go on and stick on my lettering, most of my silhouette stuff onto my glass at the front, and then I'll do a little bit at the end just so you can see the process. Okay, so I got a little bit giddy and stuck it all on, and I said I'd show you if you hadn't seen a silhouette. A silhouette is pretty much like a Cricut and all these other things. I guess why do I not use it? It's not hugely environmentally friendly, and as I say, I like this sort of rustic look, but I did have quite a lot to do today. So imagine this was my lettering. Now, silhouettes will you can either do it the other way, take the excess around the edges, which leaves you the words, and you can transfer them on if it's words you want to put onto something. And if you want to make stencils, you just do it the opposite way. You pick your letters out. So then you just get say this was your stencil. Now you would do this on a hard surface, and then you just kind of stick this on here like this. This is called transfer tape. Sorry, Martin's just explaining what I'm not saying. This is called transfer tape. You just then peel this off peel your backing off, get your transfer tape, position your transfer tape, use a scraper to scrape it onto your piece of furniture like that. That's it. That's basically what I've done here with all of these. I'd like to say that I stuck all of these on myself, but
Why have a dog when you can buy?
Martin,
Whatever the saying is.
Martin, stop. He's being very silly, but yes, Martin helped just because this lettering gives me the. I think I stuck a bit on about it, but it's not. So anyway, so this is all down solid. This is the colour that I'm going to be putting on initially. So I'm going to be putting this gold on. Then I'm going to let it dry. Then I'm going to do it again so it's had 2 coats. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear wax it while it's still in this form. And then maybe do some dark wax just to age it up so that when I pull it all off, everything is done. So as per usual, stenciling, need a piece of card to offload. You don't want too much on your brush. I mean, you're not going to get much bleed through with this, but you know, just good practice. So I'm just going to do the dabby, not the swirly on this. And I'm just going to go around the whole thing with its base coat because it's going to need 2 coats. It might even, because it's such a light shade, it might need 3. So that's all I'm going to do. And that's going to take me a little bit of a hot minute. After this, while this is all drying on here, we can work on putting, I'm going to be doing transfers on the outside, I think. Decoupage on the bottom shelf and decoupage on the inside at the top. But I was kind of thinking of what I could do. So I think we're going to do some florals and a bit of mix of stuff on the outside. But while this is on, we can't put them on while this is on here. So what we'll do is I've got, oh, look at this. And these are just relatively new. I don't have much luck with things. I don't know. So I'm going to put this on here and then we're going to I haven't got I'm not going to use gold leaf on this piece. I'm actually going to use rose gold, so it's a kind of cross between a copper and a kind of pinky color. Trying to kind of soup up this sort of gothicness of the black. So we'll put that on next while this is all drying, while we wait to do our second coat. I mean, I could probably, if anything, if this was just wood, I'd speed it up with a heat gun, but I don't want to be speeding this up with the vinyl on it because that would start softening it. It's a good way to get your vinyl off is to heat it up with a heat gun, but oh, sorry, my tools are falling apart here. Do you know what? This never ever happened when I just used an ordinary brush. No. But anyway, I'll get on and do this. Okay, so I've done the stenciling and all I'm doing now is applying the gold leaf size, so the gold leaf glue, the adhesive, onto my edges for my rose gold leaf. I'm not hitting all parts. I don't want this to look at the end of the day that it's all a little bit old and new kind of cobbled together. I mean, that being said, I'm trying to cover it, but just, you know, like, I don't mind if there's some parts that don't have the glue on it. I'm not taking it too far into it because I don't really want, I'm not always the best and I get stuck on the glass and all these kind of messy jobs. And I just want it known I'm on my wheelie stool now. Woohoo! This is making my knee feel so much better. So this will help. My friend who also has a bad knee, you know who you are, we talk quite a lot. This is what you need. You need a rolly chair. In fact, I'm going to go back and message you and tell you you need a rolly chair. She was saying that she's also got a bad knee and it's due to furniture painting. So, yeah, I'm due to see the physio this week to have more steroid injections. But after this one, there's not really much else other than surgery for me. So that'll be a bit of a hot minute for wait, but I don't mind. Martin, you could pay for me to go private. Yeah. Okay, so this is all I'm going to do. I'm going to do this around the edges, and where else am I going to put it? I'm actually going to put it where Martin put that fake top on, just on this edge here, just to kind of cover up that it's a different part of the wood. And I think what I'll do is I'll maybe do it kind of like uneven, if you know what I mean, sort of unevenish. So I just need to make sure I'm getting the right parts, that I'm not painting stuff that isn't. So I'll go ahead and do this. And then by that point, when this is all dry, I can put the gold on, and then we can give the stencils, the stencils a second coat, and then we can look at making it all fancy schmancy with some transfers. Then we're going to get to some oh, Martin, I'm having brain feed. No, I don't. Yeah, decoupage, Martin, you're right, and some brown wax. And the feet are not going to be done right now today because I'm not going to explain.
My fault.
Martin says it's his fault. Martin ordered the feet, but it was one option was the feet and the screws, and one option was just the feet. So
guess which one I ordered.
So he just, so we have the feet, but we don't have the screws. So they're just little wooden legs. They're very cute, but they're gonna obviously. I think I'm gonna probably do them with the I don't know what's wrong with me. I just keep saying the wrong things. The rose gold leaf. So yeah, they're going to be done with that too. So that's me back to the beginning of that. Yes. Okay. So on we go. Okay. So where we applied the gilding adhesive, we're going to apply the rose gold leaf. Now, when you're doing lots of edges, I like to cut mine up into strips. It just makes it easier. You're wasting less. You can apply it with the paper or just pick it out and do whatever you want. But I mean, this is a bit of a kind of one of those ones where it's a bit of a labour of love. You're just going to have to go round everywhere you've applied the adhesive. Once it's gone clear, you can just apply your gold leaf. It will only stick to where the glue is. That is the rule of thumb. So if you've got no glue, it's not going to stick. So this is going to be one of those jobs where I'm just going to kind of like monster around it and get it all done. I put obviously some up on this little edge as I discussed with you, just to kind of finish that off. So I mean, my strips are actually quite big. You could probably do this, save wasting even more. It's good if you put them in little containers as well, because that way you can kind of scoop up all the bigger bits and then you can save them. I'm all about saving the pieces and parts because you don't know when you're going to need little parts to do other things. So yeah, so this is all I'm doing. I'm just applying where I put it, and I put it around all the edges. So all the edges have been covered in this. So I'm just going to go on and I'm going to do that next. Then you know what I'm going to do once. I mean, you've seen videos of mine before, but what I'll be doing is that then I'll just be getting a soft brush and I'll just be brushing all the loose gold off. I'll show you a little bit on camera just because it's quite therapeutic to watch. I'll come back when I'm going to brush it off and just show you a little bit. And then I always love watching people brush gold leaf off. I don't know why, I just do. So I'm going to do this. And by then we can get to waxing in here and we'll remove these. And then we're going to get to putting our transfer on. Yeah. Okay, so the bit that everybody likes to see, but Martin doesn't like to clean up.
It's everywhere.
So all I'm doing is I'm just brushing it with. Now you're gonna burnish it on again in a minute, but I think my first sweep is just getting rid of all the other bits. A nice soft brush, and if you kind of go up and sideways, obviously I can't open that one because this one isn't an openable door, but I can open the rest. So I just felt the rose gold leaf was a little bit different, and I thought it really went quite well with the bluey sort of colour that I've used. So I'm just going to go on. I actually missed a part here with size, so I'm going to have to go. I just wanted to get all this part out of the way so I wasn't wiping over sort of damp size again. But I'm going to go away and I'm going to get all of this off and burnished onto my piece to a nice shine. See, the more you kind of go back and forward, the nicer it becomes. So just going to get all the loose bits off first and then get them swept up and then get as my first pass and then move on to this. Now you can see what I was saying about I avoided parts as we went along to give it that sort of vintagey look. I knew when I was going in here that I wasn't pressing down into these edges, but I was quite happy to do that so that it gave me that sort of worn look, because we are trying to get this to look worn. So we're not doing we have to cover every surface here. So just to make it look, I kind of like all this here that makes it look a little bit worn down this edge. So this is a good thing. So I'll get on and do this. Try and get that part off the glass. I don't really want that on the glass. I might need to use my scrapey tool at the end. I'll get on and I'll get this all off and then we'll get to doing this part here. Okay, so all I've got is some clear wax, and all I'm doing, I mean, this is going to save me time having to seal individually as well, you know, the words on here so they stay. So I've got clear here and I'm going to do it over with clear for a minute, and then once I've got the clear, I've actually left the brown behind me. Hang on, Martin, just stay there and focus on something else. There we go. That's it, Matty, you did a good job. You focused on something nice. So here, all I've got is some dark wax. Now, be easy when you're using things like this. I think I'll offload some of it there. I don't want it to go into all of the stencil, but just some of it, just to kind of dirty it off. So just something like that. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Yep. So I'm going to just do this in the whole thing. I'm going to put some of this clear onto a tray because now I've had that in the dark wax, I don't want to infiltrate my nice clear wax. So I'm just going to do that too. So I'm going to get off and do this. Clear and dark wax here. Then we'll get the big reveal of pulling the stencil off, and then we'll put our, what will we do next? We will put our transfer on. Okay, so big reveal time. I am going to take this off here, and this takes a bit of a moment. If you've got a silhouette, you'll know, it takes a bit of a hot minute, especially as you've just waxed in. It's slightly greasy, but so you're just taking your time. You have to, obviously, if you've never seen a silhouette before, you have to pick out the centers of your letters. So I'll show you this in a minute. Like, just get me all these parts. This is called weeding. If you've not got one, you're just weeding out all of your little pieces and parts. So for example, if I was going to weed here, I would take this part. That would help if I went and got a silhouette tool, but so I'm just taking what Martin's going to do now, and he'll probably, because I don't have time for this. I have not got the patience of a saint. So all I'm going to do is just get in between all these little parts, and they're quite thick with chalk paint, so you're going to have to work at it a little bit, but probably better go down the way on this one. But I'm just going to go now, and Martin, have you got the eye twitch?
Yep.
I think he has. I'm just going to go and pick out all of my little letters and all of my little parts in the middle. So that's what a silhouette does. It just makes you a really kind of neat, cool transfer that you can, stencil that, gives you it neat every time. There's no really any, well, there is human error, but not much. Okay, so I'm going to go and pick all of this off. Martin's going to probably do it for me. He loves doing things like this. I mean, if there's any jobs like this, Martin loves it, don't you, Martin? You do. I just go, oh no. I just go, Martin, it's like the untangling of fairy lights at Christmas. I'd just look at them and I think, I'm not doing that. And Martin goes, ooh. And he gets really into it. I mean, who does that? Ooh. And you go, oh no, it's like the dishwasher. I just open the dishwasher door and throw the dishes in. Martin opens the dishwasher and then
Takes them all out.
takes all my dishes out and,
And puts them in
and
properly.
puts them all in again. Yeah. Differences between us, which is good because I think it makes us a really good team, doesn't it, Martin? Because all the things that I
Hate doing it. I love doing
I
it.
don't like, you know, Martin will do it, and all the things that Martin's not fussed about, I'm happy to do. So there we go. I'll get on and do this, and then we'll clean off the glass a little bit to get rid of all the little bits of the loose parts of chalk paint. Okay, so I've done that part, but I realised, pretty daft, but I had to do it anyway. But by putting the wax into the stencil, I really need to give it an overnight before I go anywhere near it, because I want to put a transfer on it, not anywhere near or on top of the lettering or anything, but it's just that, you know what wax is like, and I've been pulling off the sheets and things and stuff like that. So I think I'm just gonna, for peace of mind for myself, I'm gonna just leave it overnight, so that this is all okay, because I want to put pieces round about it, pieces and parts of. Now, you're probably also thinking, why has she put this colour here, but this looks almost gold? The thing is about it is, I want to put sort of peaches of florals and things in this, so I think that these work and this works. I'm quite happy with that. Also, we'll have to wait for the feet to come tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to get Matt to pan out, and I'm going to get him to show you all the typography. But so far, I'm really like, I've already said to Martin, can I keep this? He didn't answer me. There was no answer.
Now normally gets what Nell wants.
So I think the time to point out, which I didn't really, I kind of fast forwarded over it today, was by putting my stamp in first, and you can use any stamp or you could use a stencil. By putting this design, it gives an another element of interest. And I mean, look at that there. It looks like there's an actual crack in the glass. I told you I wasn't too worried about the black that I'd put in, and it was looking overly black and a little bit gothic, because I knew that all this lettering would obviously suddenly make it all work, and it didn't matter. But obviously, make sure when you do the process that it's drier. Another thing as well, I'm just getting all my apologies out at once. I watched back the footage from yesterday of me just wiping it off on my sleeve. That's a terrible way to teach anybody. I was actually horrified. I was thinking, oh, come on. I could have done so much better. But at the time, I should have said, this doesn't matter because it's going to be all covered up, and it doesn't matter how this stamping, you know, I could wipe round it. And I should have had, obviously, a cloth. That I looked at it and I was horrified. I thought, I really need to do better. So.
Oh,
He's saying stand. He's saying he's doing like this. I thought of it that way or this way. Which way of it to go? So anyway, this is it for tonight. That's it. I'm going to let it all, the wax all cured up for tonight. And I think it's tea time anyway. And tomorrow, and the transfer that I'm going to put on it is an IOD transfer. It's called Wander. Wander is one of my second favourite. Obviously, my first is Wallflower, but Wander is a really nice transfer, and I haven't had it for ages. And I was thinking, I'm just going to put some pieces and parts of that in there, round about some kind of here, something down here, see how we kind of like make it work. And then once we've done the transfer, we'll be fully sealing. Now remember, you always seal first, then transfer. I'm doing it this way around because I can. And then we're going to be dark waxing in and around here, just aging it all off, making it look. Oh, something to show you. I did this today, off camera. I got the kind of modern brand new handles, and what I've done is I did a rusty finish on these handles, and when they go back together, these are gonna, wherever they go, these are gonna go here. Obviously they're gonna need sealed, but that's how they're gonna look. And how did I do this? I've got other videos where I've done rust, but literally all I did was I got some clay on a mat, on a mixed mat, some black, some orange, some brown, and all I did was stipple it and introduce more clay to build rust, to make rusty build up. Stippled it on in the way that I liked it, and this is where we're finished with that. But I think these are going to look, I mean, I know they're not going there, but I think these are going to look pretty good on the piece. Didn't show you that just because I just did it off camera. To be honest with you, Martin was Martin was
I was weeding all that.
Martin was doing Martin was getting all my letters straight and everything. So I felt I better do something to the process. So we are made by Marley, Martin.
We are, yes.
It's fine. So yeah, these are my handles, and we'll get to putting those on. They're going to need a good, I think I'll probably spray seal these, but once you put the clay on, and these, that like this isn't gonna like come off when in somebody's hand. I might kind of give them a slight sand. They're a little bit rough, but we're getting there. We're nearly at the end of this video. I mean, I'm trying not to do another movie. It's really getting. Oh, right. So see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Okay. What's happened? So these were the offending feet that Martin didn't get the things for. So what I did with them is I did exactly the same thing with my feet as I did here. I added the light blue, then some of the dark blue, and then did the rose gold highlights on them, stuck little pads on. Now, normally this would be quite easy to see I want feet on it, but of course this was me, and I said to Martin, I don't want them recessed in because I'm going to lose the foot length. I want this to be seen, you know, when it's on its feet. So what Martin did was he put me little risers in, he glued them together, he then screwed them in, then fitted the mechanism for the feet to go in, and then had to move all sorts of little brackets to make sure it was still secure. So he's done all that for me. Now, I ship a lot of furniture on pallets, and if this is for yourself, then I wouldn't worry about it. But I'm always conscious of my furniture, depending on how it has to be shipped. Sometimes it has to be shipped upside down. And because we've put these little risers on now, I think they look a little bit ugly. And so what I've got is I've got the same colour paint, basically, that I started with. And I've kept enough, and this is why it's good when you mix paint, always mix a little bit more. You can always keep it in pots and use it for other projects, but I've got all this left, so I'm just going to paint the underside, just so that if it ever goes on a pallet, nothing nicer than seeing that's what the customer sees, as opposed to the customer seeing all the gubbins and all the nasty parts. Now, so that was the legs. These are the legs now. These are the ones that Martin still hasn't sent back. So what else? Yeah, man. These will still be here. Ask me in a year, did you ever send those feet back, Martin? Bet he doesn't. And then he'll be jimmying them into something else because he doesn't have the right things to work with. I know him. So what else have I done now? Down the bottom, I know I've realised that I hadn't painted the underside of the shell, so I have to go back and do that when I've got the paint out. All I've done, because we knew that we had that circle part in the top that was really ugly, I've decoupaged all the way along, and I've got this last sheet to put in here so that my top is all nice as well, because all these things really matter. Now, once I've done this, I can clean the glass. I couldn't do any. I've still got when we flip it over, I still have this side to decoupage, and then I'll clean the glass, because you have to do all your pieces then clean. Now, if you think, oh, this black is a bit ugly, I meant to say as well, I spray sealed this black. If you think it's a bit ugly, you could decoupage the inside as well if you want. I quite like the light shining through it. It looks, almost gives it that sort of vintagey age look, which I'm going for. Not being lazy. If I wanted to do it, you know me, it would be getting done. But I like it, so I'm keeping it that way. So I'll finish off this part. Martin and I will then flip it back over the right way. Once I've painted the bottom, I can heat gun that, so that's relatively quick. Put this on. You'll see me doing a little bit of the decoupage in the actual bottom. I'll clean the glass off camera. You don't want to see that. Then we are going to get to all the artwork, which isn't going to take incredibly too long, but you know. So I'll go and do the bits I can do right now, and then we'll get it flipped back over. Okay, so I flipped it around the other way. I decided not to bother showing you. I decoupaged the bottom, and I cleaned out the glass. And I cleaned the glass as well. First pass clean, it'll need another clean. So where are we going with this? Images were a little bit thin on the ground for what I wanted. This is exactly the thing I wanted. It's a wee bit blurry, but I'm okay with it because of the era we're going for. So I think that sort of 40s sort of women that I'm thinking that would wear the
finest hats and the leather shoes. Are you coughing again, Matty? Oh, hang on, Matt's just killing. He's just choking here. Right, you've got it all out. Right, okay. So there we go. What will we call her, Martin? You're always good at names. So I'm going to put her about here. Actually, no, I'm going to put her about here because we will make her look a little bit more special with some flowers, more flowers in her bow, and kind of zhuzh her up a bit. But let's get her on. So I was just putting a little bit of normally with decoupage you apply the surface then, but it's the other way around for this one because I don't have any edges. So I've just got a bit of plastic here down on the back on the carpet because my wheels don't work right now. But oh my goodness, they are so good. If only I had thought of that years ago. So with something like this where you're putting images onto the glass, it's a bit of a thing to cut out, but you have to make sure with that you absolutely 100% glue all surfaces. You want her to stick. I think I'm going to call her Trixie. Do you think Trixie's a good name, Marty? Tallulah. Yeah, Tallulah's a good name. Is that not what you wanted to call Daisy? No. Okay. Maybe it wasn't Tallulah. Okay, right. Okay. I can't be having your nonsense right now, Matt, and I'm in the middle of doing something important. Right, so you've got a little bit of wiggle room on glass, which is quite good, that you don't have when you're doing it on anything else. So I'm starting at the bottom. I should have probably started at the top, but I'm starting at the bottom because you don't want her face to have wrinkles. Poor Tallulah, she's not having any of that. So that's Tallulah on. Now, I think the best thing to do with, there's a little bit of something under there. See that? And that is the difference between having a smooth image. Just a tiny little thing like that can throw your image off and then give you in fact, I can feel another one under here as well. It's worth taking the time. It's only maybe minuscule, a little bump, but it will lead to wrinkles. There's just no getting away from it. So got her down on there and I like her there. So we're just going to leave her there for a wee bit while we do some other things because I'm going to come back and make her, making sure there's no air bubbles. Oh, got a crumple in her face. So I'm happy with her stuck on there. Now, at this point in time, maybe good to not have too much. I'm fighting against my workshop at the moment in the studio with moisture. This feels very, very moist. so yeah, I'm making sure that I've got a heat gun because my next thing I'm going to do is put something here. So I'll get Martin to just, I don't know what you're going to do, Martin. What will you do when a heat gun? Just cough over it. Put a bit of heat gun on there just because I'm working with moisture on my glass in the shed right now. It's quite late at night and it's getting quite damp. So I am using Wanda and I thought these florals would go quite nice with this overall piece. And I think I'm just going to use this page here. I don't want to break into too much because I want to be able to get another piece of furniture out of this if I can. So sit that down there. Hang on a minute. It's just everything's getting away from me. Set that over to the side. If you do work in damp conditions, make sure you put these back in plastic and for probably best practice, put them in your house. Now, what am I going to do? What do I want? I'm just going to do this on the hoof right now. So I think we're going to do something like this to start with. And we can come back and find or add it as we go. But I want something to go in this gap. So let's see what we can do. I don't want to cut off the edge of this daisy, but I do want to get these little blue flowers around here. So let's see what can make this part here work. Yeah. And I'm just hoping it is not too damp. If I was working in the house right now, it'd be perfect, wouldn't it? No, it didn't come out to the studio too soon, Mark. Be quiet. Be quiet. You sit there and cough. Right, so normally when you put transparent glass, it sticks incredibly well, but as I said, we are fighting against the problem with the moisture out here right now. So let's have a wee look and see how we're doing here. Well, a silly kind of angle for putting the transfer on, but okay, we'll run with it. Yeah, it's going to be fine actually. I don't know why I was worrying. Just worrying unnecessarily. And I'll put something else here as well. So I'm going to put this one on off camera. Deb, and I hope I'm not sounding like I'm having a heart attack. Trying to get this off. She was saying I was doing a lot of huffing and puffing, put the last one on. So it's good if you can just catch a wee bubble and then you've got your there we go. And let's just make sure that that is burnished onto the glass. Now, when you've done something like this, you are going to have to run very carefully. I just, as a matter of practice, put a tiny little bit of sealer over things like this, just because now if you've cut in and there's a little bit that doesn't quite work with your design, just scrape it away. There you go. So I need something else beside this so you can see what I'm starting to do. I'm going to put more flowers in. What did we call our Tallulah's here and things like that, but we're kind of like just working with what we've got. I want to keep some of the bigger ones for up the top, so I think this red rose here is going to be our next one that we're going to put on. So you don't want to see me do each individual part, but I'll finish this one and then we'll maybe jump up to the, I'm hoping to put something here and something here, quite big. And then we'll get to Toulouse here and maybe we'll get something up here. Okay, while I'm still down in this area before I get up there, I thought I'd do Tallulah. This is where I kind of hit upon with up here. I might finish off with something there. I'll see what the balance is like from across the room. But from where I sit right now, I think probably needs something here. Right, Tallulah, let's get going. What are you going to have? So let's just start by sticking a big daisy up in there because that's what I like. We'll put more on her in a minute, but we'll start with the daisy. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I keep missing the transfer and doing the wrinkling all up. If you haven't used transfers before and this is the first time you're seeing them used, I've got plenty of transfer videos, but they come, as you can see, on the sheet that I've cut up with the little squares on the front so that you can, generally people put them on as a oneer. So maybe my videos are a little bit different because I don't, or not very often, put it that way. You just put it on and then you rub it with the little magic stick, which is called a transfer stick. And then you just, you know, burnish it on and then you can seal it as normal. But I've had a few questions recently about sealer for transfers, all around about the same time as well. It's quite funny. Asking me, somebody had said their transfer had gone wrong and it got eaten away by the top coat. Now I use French Chic Tough Coat Sealer. It is a water-based. I'll show you it. I show you it nearly every video, but I'll show you it again when I go to seal this piece before I wax it. It is a water-based sealer, and I know my sealers, and I've never ever had a problem sealing a transfer. Never. You can wax a sealer transfer as well, but if you want it to be a little bit more heavy duty, I think probably a top coat is best. I can't speak for it. I think one of the brands in particular was, I don't want to name brands of which one that it was used, but in fact it was a wax this person had used, and it ate away at the transfer. So all I'm saying is I would use a water-based transfer, definitely water-based, because that way you know, you're guaranteed that it's not going to eat away at your transfers. Sorry, I digress onto transfer ceiling, but these things are important. You don't want to go all that bother. And plus, let's be honest, you don't want to spend all that money for it to go wrong, because that is what it's all about. You just don't want to be ruining your money. So make sure your sealer is water-based. Wax, I use Annie Sloan wax or Rust-Oleum wax, and I've never had any problem waxing transfers either. I'm just going to add a little bit of pink in here. Now, I think you're getting the general gist of what I'm doing here, so I'm not going to get Matt into labour too long on Tallulah's hair here, but, you know, we're giving her a bit of a, her headdress, her hat, a bit of a glow up. I mean, it is fancy flocked hats and feathers and soft felt and all that, so we better kind of make her look half decent. So I'm going to go on and do this now. You've seen me enough doing this, putting her Tallulah's pieces and parts on here, and that ain't away there. I'm just going to do this, but don't do this at home, people. And what I'll do is, if this does happen to you, I'm just going to show you what I've done is, because my decoupage was still a bit soft, I put a little bit of decoupage glue in there, and you have to be a wee bit of contortionist to get this right. Just fit your little part back in, just press it down, and when that glue dries, you'll never know that little boo-boo happened, so you just give it a minute. Always good to show you when the boo-boos happen as well. Right, okay, so I'm going to get on and do her hat now, and then we'll move up the piece. Okay, so I've finished this part here. I've finished Tallulah's headdress down there. There might be something else to add to that because I want it quite ostentatious. I'm working on the flow under the main large lettering. So it's kind of big, small, running under here. So now I'm going to try and attempt on camera to do something like this and make this run from this edge here. Let's just see if I can line that up. Yeah, from about there into here. So my best possible advice is, I've seen people do it all different kinds of ways. First of all, you kind of need to get where you want it to be on this side. So stick that down and get that bit there adhered. Then you're going in your bumps of the edges of the doors like that. You're making sure they're in. You've got your bumps in there sorted. Yeah. They will start to pop up because that's what happens. Then this bit flattened onto here. Then you need to do your next set of bumps here and here on the door. Then you're pushing it in to there, right in, like that. Then you're going to do the bumps of the door, the bump 1, bump 2, bump 3, fold onto there, and then put this piece down, and then you're just going to do your bumps down this side, and like so, bringing it all the way here, and that bit there. Now you've got it semi-tacked down. It's not adhered properly yet, but what you can do is you can use the pieces where you've done in the bumps to work towards your favour. So you can kind of do, you know, kind of get, if you can get these ones here to move, you can use the plastic to work on this piece first. So let's get this piece down. Okay, so what I did off camera was I sealed all of the wood and the copper and everything with clear wax. I used Annie Sloan and put it on with a brush, and I wiped the excess off with this cloth here. Now, I've still got this cloth here, and now I'm going to start to age it all up. Now, a little bit of dark wax goes a long way, so where am I wanting to age it? Well, definitely under here, under this rim. So I'm going to be doing some of that there. Don't want it too crazy. If you feel you've gone too far, use your cloth that you put your clear wax on. I'm going to be doing it round the edges. And how much, you don't have to at this point put dark wax onto it. I always like to just make it look a little bit more aged out and a little bit more sort of in keeping. Now my transfers are pretty spanking new because obviously they're going across the glass, whereas if there was a wooden piece, you could sand them to make them look a little bit more aged. But so there's a kind of two different things going on here that I'm not I'm not bothered too much. I'm also kind of dumbing down some of this rose gold, some of the sparkle, Martin, you're right, some of the rose gold leaf, just to kind of take some of the high shine off it. I'm doing this with the dark wax in here, down here, and sort of this sort of edge here. Trying not to get too much in the centre, and if I do, I can wipe that back. I mean, if you're feeling quite brave, you can put a little bit on your transfer. Now, Martin has put my grungy handles on. This is why, hence the reason why I'm trying to make everything kind of cohesive here. So once you've got them on, you can do sort of more sort of grunge around there where hands would have been, and dirtied it off. Now I'm going to have to replay with this just off camera. And I've got my clear wax underneath, which means it gives me a lot of play. I can move it around. Always, 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 always put clear wax on before you put your dark wax on. I say that in every video that I use wax, but just in case. Oh, I mean, I've done some serious damage with dark wax. So yeah, so I'm going to get on now, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to finish doing the dark wax, and then we'll get to staging. Okay, so that's us finished. So we took a large piece of furniture which we thought, well, big pieces of furniture are not so, they're harder to sell, and they don't fit into a more modern home these days. So although this is still quite a big piece of furniture, it was massive with the bottom on it and everything. It was going, unfortunately, nowhere, that piece of the two pieces that I bought. So isn't it good that we were able to save it? I just think that this is, you know, if anything, this is what we've managed to do. We have done the top part this week, but I think we'll do the part 2 next week, and we'll do the bottom half next week, which is great because it's not that big compared to the top part, so it should be a quicker video. So if you look out for part 2 of what we did with this big cupboard. It wasn't an old cupboard, it wasn't vintage at all, it was mid-century modern, I think, or maybe even after that. Both of them came out of a shop, so it was good that we put it back to where it should be, and we've aged it and made it look like it was from a vintage shop, or at least the 40s, I think I was kind of going for in my mind. What did we do? We did so much, and can I just say thank you to the lovely Martin, who has, he's laughing, he's done so much on this video, what with filling the hole, putting the top on, doing the feet, turning it over, then me going, oh, but I want the feet to be this, and him, you know, putting blocks on, doing that. And not to mention putting all of the silhouette words, all the stencil on. I mean, things like that, I never get them straight, and he's really good at doing all that. So thank you, Martin. Right, so what did we do this week? We painted it. I mixed a colour up. Just, you can do whatever colours you want. This was the colour I had, a sort of lighter greeny blue, and I put a sort of navy into my mix and kind of swirled it around to give it a little bit of drama. The glass, I full mercuried the glass. Now don't do what I did, make sure that everything is completely dry before you roll your black over. If not, it can end up a little bit gothicy like mine in some areas, but I knew that I was going to be doing all of this artwork on top, so I wasn't too bothered about that. But that is something to consider. Don't do what I do and just rush in and do it. I thought it was completely dry, but obviously it wasn't completely dry, and it lifted some of the paint. We put our silhouette. Martin and I worked together at the kitchen table. I came up with the words, Martin put it into the silhouette, and we got our fonts and everything, and we stenciled it with a goldy sort of coloured paint that I mixed up. We then sealed it and dark waxed it to give it some age while it was still, before we pulled off the vinyl, so that kind of counteracted having to seal all of this, which was great. We put on the rose gold gilding, and I've obviously dumbed it down with and made it a little bit darker with the dark wax. We added the water transfer, and we added some movement across the piece. I always like to have a wee bit of movement. It kind of draws the eye in, and I've kind of add pieces and parts. I've got my 40s woman down there with her, I mean, our hat now is a little bit kind of like Carmen Miranda. Just need some pineapples on that and we're fine. But you know, we are advertising finest hats, you know, all the way from Parisian styles. See, we're trying to get it all done. I rusted up my handles, sealed it with clear wax. I decoupaged inside. I decoupaged in the top. What didn't I do? So if you've enjoyed this video today, why don't you consider subscribing, even if it's just to see what we do with the bottom part of the cabinet next week. Push the bell, leave me a comment, give me a like, and all the other things that you're supposed to do when you have a YouTube channel. I've been Lel from Made by Marley, and I'll see you again another day. Bye-bye.